So is a game meant to be sold or is it meant to be told? So when I was working at Pep Boys as a young whippersnapper, there was this pimp, his name was Tony from Camden. He used to come in all the time and I would sit there and just listen to him and, all right, like granted, yeah, he's a pimp or was a pimp. I haven't talked to him in years, but he had a lot of real life lessons and a lot of value to drop, right? So one of the things that we used to talk about is, hey, like, so should the game be sold versus told, right? And I had a young man reach out to me, earlier in the DMs. He was just asking a bunch of questions and stuff like that. So, I kind of want to, break it down for you guys because a lot of you are going to complain and be like, oh, well, this is a fucked up topic. I reach out to people to get help all the time and no one responds and blah, 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 and X, Y, and Z. And I'm gonna kind of break that down on why that is and what you guys should be doing differently in order to get that attention and get the help that you need. So essentially, Tony was one of my first ever mentors, right? And I would help him with some of his car stuff, like if he needed anything outside of, getting parts of Pep Boys, I would make sure that, I was there for him and he would, hit me to some life game. And that's where I learned that, people that are busy, and granted, like he wasn't doing, the most upstanding citizen shit, but he was still working. He was still dedicating his time to something else. That's when I started to understand people that are busy doing other things, they don't have time to hold your fucking hand unless there's some value exchange, okay? And I'm not saying it has to be equivalent in all ways. I'm just saying that there has to be some type of value exchange for these people to be able to take a break from what they're doing to give you what you need, right? And let me break down how I do that for people that I'm interested in getting to know. So one of my good friends, great mentor, his name is Lynn. He was one of the first people that really ever helped me to get big on social media. So when I first met him, because he was like, yo, you should come out to LA and hang out and shit and have a good time. I was like, all right, baby, let's do it. So I sent a gift. I sent a Burberry duffel bag before I showed up at his house. So I overnighted it. He got there because I'm like, hey, thank you for inviting me out to not only your home, but introducing me to all these people and doing dinner and all this shit and everything else. He didn't have to do that. Now, I'm not saying you guys got to send a Burberry duffel bag, but if there's something that you really want from someone, you need to be willing to either pay for it or exchange some type of service or knowledge or whatever. You can't just go to people who are successful who can help you and say, oh, I'm gonna buy you a coffee, let's go have lunch. What the fuck does that do? Like, they can afford coffee, they can afford lunch, they can afford to do all these things. You're not giving any type of real value. You're just taking, unless Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or someone like that is already outside and they're at some type of convention and they're answering questions already, you're not gonna sit there and DM them and get a wealth of information for fucking free, right? To have Tony Robbins coach you one-on-one is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Same with Grant, like just to be able to get into one of Grant's speakings is like 5 or 10 grand. And you think these dudes are gonna sit down and answer your basic ass questions for fucking coffee? The answer is gonna be a resounding fucking no, right? And I know that sounds bad, but the game is really meant to be sold, not told. Imagine if you spent years of your life learning something, spent tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars doing so, becoming successful at it, and some random motherfucker on Instagram hits you up and he's like, hey, tell me everything that you know. I got some questions in this and this and this. And you're already busy as fuck doing what you're doing. And this asshole is just annoying the fuck out of you, calling you a bad person because you're not giving them information. That's essentially what most people sound like. That's essentially what most people do. They have no type of value to exchange, yet they want value from the people that they're asking it of. So it doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? So you guys have to understand how the game is played. If you have information, and don't say, well, if I made it to the top and all this, I would give information away for free. No, you motherfucker, you wouldn't. You'd be too fucking busy doing everything that you're doing. Like, that's the whole, like, even if I had the money, I wouldn't fallacy. Like, only fucking broke people say that shit, or, like mediocre individuals. If you had that level of information, knowledge, money, whatever, you don't have the time to give it away for free, nor would you, because you'd be like, yo, I worked my fucking ass off for this, and I'm not gonna give it away to some fucking asshole for free, right? Like, that's just not the way it works. Maybe if you're outside already, you got 2-3 minutes to spare, but to sit down and have a fucking 2-3 hour conversation for free, it's not gonna fucking happen. So remember that, people.